My husband and I recently got into prone paddleboarding, and once we started to accumulate boards, I instantly knew we were going to need to have a dedicated place to be able to store them. So I started out by building a basic rack using 2x4s, and then I realized I was going to need to make some modifications. So without further ado, let's get into this build where we'll make a prone paddleboard rack and a roof over the top.
All right, so my game plan, this has worked, but I'm gonna make some modifications to it. I'm gonna lower these all down just a little bit, starting with this one. I'm gonna just go to that bottom block, which is about 4 inches. Then I'll drop this one 4 inches, and I'm gonna probably drop this one about 8 inches, which will leave me a lot more space at the top that I can add a little awning roof situation, probably 16 feet long. So let's get to doing that. Let's disassemble a little bit of this. I'm also gonna paint it because I left the raw wood just because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like this build or not. But now that I'm pretty much solid and solidified with it, let's protect the wood with a little white paint. Let's get to it. These are stock prone paddleboards, which are 12 feet long, but they can get up to 18 feet. So I made sure to leave enough room for larger boards in the future. I chose to screw the structure together, that way if I needed to modify it or make any changes down the line, which is exactly what I'm doing, it would make it a lot easier to disassemble and reassemble. Okay, after making those modifications, I'm thinking that I'm gonna add another bracer along there. It probably would have been easier if I had primed and painted all of it before assembly, but sometimes I like to make things a little harder on myself, and we had already gone too far to disassemble it now. It definitely looks so much better with a nice coat of paint on it.
Okay, now that the rack is built and painted, I want to be able to protect the boards from the weather, so I constructed a roof using a 16-foot long 2x4 that I ripped in half on the table saw just to make my building materials a little bit lighter, and I used corrugated roofing panels.
I want to keep the roof at the same slope as the garage roof, so I'm using a 25-degree angle when cutting down my boards that I will be connecting to the 16-foot boards that I ripped down on the table saw. I made sure to find the lightest boards if possible to keep this build as light as possible. All right, now that I got 6 of these bad boys at the 25-degree angle, let's go pre-drill. I pre-drilled all of my boards and I used exterior screws to construct everything, and I am so glad that I ripped in half that 16-foot long 2x4 because I would have doubled the weight of this having to use 2 boards. So I'm trying to cut down as much of the weight as possible, and that was definitely a good choice. All right, so after looking at the 16-foot long span that I got, I'm realizing that I should have cut at an angle on the table saw so that this will all sit flush when I go to add this. So I'm gonna unscrew this piece and run it through the table saw and just cut that angle so it all angles up right. I feel like it wouldn't be a true project unless there was some type of mistake made that required something to be disassembled and reassembled. All right, now we're talking. That makes that so much better. Okay, now let's screw it all back together. All right, now that I got this angle cut, that's awesome. I was able to use the off-cut piece that I just cut off. That angle works perfect for right along here. So I'm gonna add this piece all the way down, and that'll give my nice slope. All right, let's get a coat of paint on it, and then we'll start cutting down the roof slats. All right, now that we got it painted, let's cut the panels. I really like using this UV corrugated roofing for lightweight projects like this. I've used the same corrugated roofing for the greenhouse edition, and it's held up extremely well. It's easy to cut and easy to assemble, and I can't say much more about it other than it's an easy way to make an easy roof. And once I had all of my corrugated panels cut, I laid them out and made sure to give each one a 1.5 inch overlap onto the end of each panel. I like to use the screws that have the little gasket that's built into the screw. It's great for installing these corrugated panels and keeping them weatherproof. All right, we're looking good, and it's light enough that I think I can lift this up and install it all put together.
I figured it was going to be a lot easier to construct the framing for the roof and adding the corrugated panels on the sawhorses on the ground rather than trying to do it on the ladders, which I was definitely right on. It was a little cumbersome installing it, but having a helpful hand was extremely easy once we got it in place and just screwed it in.
All right, I ended up moving the roof down just a little bit, that way we got full coverage over the doorway, and I ended up moving this top section down just a tad, that way we have full clearance to get in the boards. Now let me add the foam pads and then we'll put the boards back.
Well friends, there it is, the prone paddleboard rack with a roof over the top. I could see this project easily being modified to hold kayaks or canoes or anything that you just need out of the way and stored along the side of a building. I hope you enjoyed this project, and until next time friends, when we do another fun project together. Also, I don't ask this too often, but would you mind liking, subscribing, and commenting on this video? So I bought a new board. Look at it, she's beautiful. My friend Amy was selling this custom stock 12-foot board. She did the Catalina Classic on this. And, well, it was just too good not to. So now to reconfigure this rack.